who is the chair of the Grey District Council based in Greymouth. And we've had her on the show before on this particular issue, but as a general rule, Tania Gibson, the Mayor, joins us now. Tania, lovely to have you on. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It'd be a constant refrain from your constituents too, wouldn't it? That they can't quite work out the correlation between the money they pay in rates and the services they're getting?
No, that was an interesting comment you just said there. Yes, I guess those tax cuts will, with the rate rises around the country. It's pretty tough out there at the moment.
Now, you're the Mayor of the Grey District Council. Just before we talk about SNAs, you have also, I think, withdrawn from Local Government New Zealand, is that right?
Yes, we have.
Why?
We just were unhappy with what we were getting from them and the fees that we were having to pay. I just couldn't justify anymore even attending the events for what we were getting out when our ratepayers were having to pay for us to be a member and to attend those events. And, you know, with the Three Waters debacle, things got very split down the middle, and we assessed it for about over 3 years each time, and in the end we just thought, well, for now, we're out.
So is that all the Westland councils have gone, or just yourself?
All of them, 3 of them except for Bulla, 3 out of 4.
Right. Okay, 3 out of the 4. And then you've got Christchurch that's gone, obviously. They've just made that decision. Auckland's made that decision. I suppose there must be some others as well. So to lobby at a national level, particularly, for example, on the issue we're just about to discuss now, do you think that you can do that more effectively than Local Government New Zealand?
Well, Local Government New Zealand weren't lobbying from anything that we have issues with on the coast, you know, through the whole SNA, stewardship land, or no new mining on dot land, didn't hear a word from them. So, you know, we weren't getting any advocation anyway. So we are having a lot more ministers come through that are talking to us now, which is quite refreshing, and hearing it from our side.
Right. Okay. So you can have a more direct input than That was my experience as a mayor too. I have to say, Tania, I'd never work out what I was getting for it, and the answer is nothing. Hey, listen. Significant natural areas, I think it is. Yeah, significant natural areas. They've been a big issue around the coast, but they're a big issue for every council. Can you just explain what a significant natural area to our listeners is, please?
Well, on the West Coast, it's just about everywhere, like flora, fauna, indigenous biodiversity. But, you know, at the moment, we are 84% under dock land, and to be implementing more SNAs, we'd be bringing that on the coast to just about up to 94% of land, and that's starting to take private land. So we're not against protection of those areas, and our farmers work well with them, but, you know, it's putting rings around them with regulation doesn't work for us either.
Yeah, so each of the councils is required under a national policy statement, I think, for Indigenous biodiversity, which, God, big name, came out of Wellington, yet all these sort of things do. It required councils throughout New Zealand to identify significant natural areas, SNAs for short, in their district planning, and those areas must be protected. You presumably then went out there and found that you've given me those numbers, 84% to 94%. Did you have staff going out there identifying where those areas were in the Grey District, did you?
Way back before I was the mayor, we actually, under duress, went through a very good process with our landowners. Well, it wasn't good, but, you know, we had good consultation with them, and we already do have certain SNAs in place, but of course now they wouldn't match to the national policy statement as the last government brought in late in their term. And the new government, of course, have come out and announced no new SNAs, but unfortunately we haven't had the law changed yet.
The old one changed yet, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So we've been commissioned by the Local Government Commission to do a joint regional plan, which is called the Titai Potini One District Plan. And Grey put in that we will do no more SNAs because we don't feel that we should to our landowners, and that Westland and Bulla would map within 5 years. And when the minister came out and announced that there would be no more, we clapped our hands and jumped around, and now we find ourselves in a predicament where this plan is catching up on us in that area, but the legislation that still stands still states that we need to do them.
Now, how are you going to handle that? So I get your point. You've got legislation from the last government that requires you to still lock up a fair amount of privately owned land on the West Coast. You've got the government saying, well, we're not going to do this anymore, but they haven't changed the old law. I mean, that's you're not the only council facing that, and not just to do with SNAs, but particularly to do with water. Is another one at the moment, and Te Manawa Te Wai. How are you going to handle that? Are you going to expect them to have some sort of omnibus bill later on in the year? Have they given you that indication? Or are you going to have to introduce a local bill into Parliament to deal with your particular issue? What's the solutions you've got?
Well, what we're battling today is that our own facilitation of this team, our committee have agreed that we wanted to delay these hearings, which are now in a couple of weeks for Indigenous biodiversity.
Yeah.
And of course, our planner, or the facilitators on the team have changed our stance without us knowing, and these were going to head into a committee. And we have actually picked up on this, and we're scrambling, and we have been talking to ministers. And all we are asking today from our own facilitators for the West Coast is that we delay our hearings until we can talk to the government and tell them of our problem and try and work around this issue. But unfortunately, we're fighting our own team to get this through. So that's, where we're standing today, and we're going into battle this afternoon, and there's every hurdle being put in our way to keep trying to implement these SNAs. Sorry,
who appointed the facilitators?
Well, of course, they're staff that work on the team, and I guess that under the law as it stands, they are doing the right thing because they have to change our stance to the legal law as it stands. But we're saying, well, no, but we are getting pushback and saying now that decision is not for our committee of leaders to make. It is for the hearings panel and for the team facilitating, or it's that we have to adhere to the law. So, we're very disappointed that we have to go in and battle that out with our own team, and we're trying to get some clarification from ministers to get some backing on that for us this afternoon.
Okay, it seems obvious to me, and I'm just thinking out loud here, that you say to your staff, who you employ your chief executive,
it's not the Grey District staff, it's our regional council staff that are facilitating the plan for the whole West Coast and 3 districts. Right, so it's not our district council staff or facilitators, it's the whole plan team.
Okay, so it's the regional council staff on the Westland who are going, no, we're going to do this. What's the stance of the governance team, the elected officials on the Westland Regional Council then?